Hi, welcome back. We are continuing the rating everything in my makeup collection series today. I did a rating all of my skin tints video at least a month back, and you all said you would like me to continue this. So I thought I would bring out my most abundant makeup item for this video, and I know a lot of you guys you're in on this too. This is your heaviest or most purchased makeup item, and that is cream blushes. So I'm going to be breaking down every single cream blush in my collection. Now, I do want to preface this by saying most of these are going to be arm swatches of these blushes because, listen, okay. I almost tore my face up doing that skin tint video because I tried on at least like 75% of all of the skin tints I featured in that video. My skin was tore up. It was tore up from the floor up literally for weeks. I could not do that to my face for this video. So all of the blushes are probably just going to be arm swatches, but I mean, honestly, you're still going to get like a better feel for what the color is, in my opinion. When I apply blush to my face, I apply it in a very sheer fashion, so at least you'll get like the full swatch and payoff. So just want to, there is going to be a little bit of a difference in how I do this one compared to the skin tint. I feel like it's necessary to see like foundation and concealer on the skin, whereas like blushes, eyeshadows, those you get the full payoff when you just do a complete arm swatch. So let's go ahead and start out on a strong note here. This is my due diligence. I had to first, in my opinion, these are still my all-time favorite blushes. Of course, we're gonna ring in at a 5 on my first blush pick here, and some of you probably already know what it is. It's my Sandler Watercolors. I've been a little bit quiet with watercolors just because, I'll be honest, these are expired. They expire very quickly, and my collection has dwindled down because I used to have a ton. Unless they've changed it, which it still says 6 months on the bottle here. These have a 6-month lifespan, so a little bit shorter than some blushes. So if you are particular with expiration dates on your makeup, which I hate to say I'm not, I'm still using a MAC Hush that was discontinued several years ago. Then just, letting you know. But we're ringing in. These are 5s. These will forever be my all-time favorite blushes. You just cannot find anything on the market like these. You can go back to a video I made 5 years ago saying these are literally the best blushes in the world, and I still stand by that. So these are liquid pigment blushes, and they're by Daniel Sandler, wonderful makeup artist out of the UK, and he's just always been known for these watercolor blushes. I first discovered these back in the day when Pixie Woo, Sam and Nick Chapman, they would use these, talk about them, and that's how I discovered them. They are literally the most hyper-realistic, surreal looking makeup product, like in general, but when it comes to blush, I've never tried anything like these. They go on so smooth. They are just almost like give this ethereal, blurring, very youthful look to the skin. I just firmly believe everyone needs at least one shade of these in their collection. We fully stand Mr. Daniel on the patent of this amazing formula. But yeah, these, I had to start off with these because if you can take away one blush, and I'm going to talk about a lot in this video, it's obviously going to be watercolors. So 5 stars, perfect, absolutely no complaints with this formula. It's that good. I want to talk about these next 2 blushes together, not only for a time saver, but also as a compare and contrast, because I feel like they are similar, but just slightly different. And one is going to appeal to a certain group of people, whereas the other is going to appeal to another. So first formula is Merit Flush Balm, which we know I've been loving ever since Merit came out. I have always been such a fan of these. Now, I want to not really compare them to this next product, but just point out some similarities. And these are the Olio Osso Tinted Balms. And I hope I'm saying that right. Some people say Olio Osso. But you get the picture here. It's gonna be linked down below. So the reason I wanted to talk about these together is they have a similar formula, except one's more pigmented than the other. So the Merit definitely has more pigment to it. The Olio and Osso balms, these are going to be for those of you who are like no makeup, die hard, just like skin tint. These are really good in the summer if you just want to throw something on super quick because they will sheer out. They are extremely sheer. And while I'm at it here, I had no intention of doing this, but I'm gonna throw a third one into the mix, okay? Because I didn't even think about this. This next product that I'm going to talk about, or this next formula, is also very similar to the Olio and Osso. I did not mean to get confusing here, but I'm going to throw in the Jones Road Miracle Balms. So these, again, you either love these or you hate them. These are very sheer tinted balms, exactly what the name says. They come off waxy on the skin. They definitely have some tack to them, and they do give some slight radiance to the skin. But in terms of similarities, these are very close. And let's go ahead and talk about the pigment chart here. Jones Road is going to be your sheerest, and then the Olio and Osso balms, and then Merit, these are not sheer. They're actually quite buildable. You can get a pretty solid payoff with these. But in the terms of texture, all these kind of have a similar texture. So which one to decide? Again, if you are an ultra natural, barely there makeup person, the tinted balms, these are just so easy to apply. They come in a lot of really fun colors. The Miracle Balm from Jones Road, this again, you are either gonna love this or you're gonna hate it. It has a very medicinal scent to it. So just for warning you on that. And you are going to get, you're gonna see when I do the swatch on this, and I have a couple of other shades, but they're back at my house. And honestly, they're not even blush colors. They're more of the bronze colors. This one is in the shade Miami Beach, but you're going to see in the swatch that you do not get a ton of color payoff. The whole point of Miracle Balms is they're really just supposed to make the skin look fresh and almost dewy. That's what that like wax feel is. If you want natural, but a little bit more versatile, a little bit more color payoff, the Miracle Balms. They go on just as easily as the two previous mentioned blushes, but you will get more payoff. And I just feel like they work really well with most foundation or skin tint types. Like you could wear this with a tinted moisturizer, you could wear these with a full-on foundation. Whereas these with a full-on foundation, it's going to be a disaster because there's such an emollient and there's like a high, I don't know if it's wax, but balmy concentrate. A lot of oils are going on with both of these products. I personally think you have to be very careful if you want to apply these over a fuller coverage foundation because that emollients will really rub away the base. So all in all, the Merit is more versatile. I honestly have to give these a 5-star. I love these. I reach for these weekly. I think they are fun. They're versatile. I love the shape. I love that they're travel friendly. They go with any type of makeup. Like, you know, terracotta was my jam for years. That's like the only blush color that I wore. And since they've just expanded on more colors. So I have to give the Merit ones a 5-star. I mean, it is what it is. So with the Olio and Ossos not being as versatile, I have to admit I only reach for these when I have a more sheer base on. I do feel like I have to dock down because I don't think they're gonna be for everyone, especially if you feel like you might be more combination oily. They're just going to be more for a tailored specific skin type. I'm going to give these a 3.5 star. I really like the packaging. Again, very travel friendly. They are very user friendly. Like I said, you can just swipe and go. If you have a really sheer base on, I'm talking like tinted SPF, tinted moisturizer, you can just pop some on, blend it in with your cheeks, and it's gonna look fine. So I love that they are user friendly in that sense, but when you get into the arena of using these with more makeup, like more fuller coverage concealer, powder, foundation, I don't think they are as compatible. So I'm gonna give these about a 3.5 star for my extremely natural folks out there. Okay, so I have thought long and hard about this, and I love Jones Road, like 90% of their products. And Miracle Balms, I have to say, as I've owned them throughout the past couple years. I've really tried to convince myself I think that I like them more than I do. I don't dislike them. And I know I said you either love or hate them, and here I am, like, I'm like riding the fence. But I have to admit, I don't reach for them often. I don't think they're compatible with a lot of the base products that I use. And again, it's like a very sheer payoff. So if I'm gonna take the time to use a blush or something, then I want a little bit more payoff. So I have to give my Miracle Balms honestly about a 2.5. I just don't reach for them as much. I think if you are someone that it has more mature skin, number one, and you like a very minimal makeup look, these are great because they give a nice, like, bouncy, youthful look to the skin. But for me and just the specific makeup styles that I do on a daily basis, I have to say I don't really reach for these that often. I love my What the foundation. I'm actually going to talk about the lip and cheek sticks later on in the video, but Miracle Balms aren't, they're just not something I reach for that often. Okay, next up we have another favorite of mine. These are the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer blushes, and I feel like these don't get the love that they deserve. Ever since these have come out, I have really been a fan, and they come in so many gorgeous colors. The name it's really interesting, Tinted Moisturizer Blush. You'd think that these would be really sheer. It's actually quite the opposite. These are very pigmented, mixed between like a cream and a liquid. Like, they're not as liquidy as the Daniel Sandler, but they're not solidified like a cream blush. So they're somewhere in the middle. And I have to say, I have adored these ever since they've come out. I think that they work perfectly with any type of makeup. Like, you could do super sheer base or you could do full coverage, and these are gonna look good because they have the pigment payoff and they aren't so liquidy that they're gonna break down what's underneath. I am gonna give these a 4.5 star. I'm knocking off a star because they aren't the most user-friendly, and it's not that they aren't user-friendly, but the most user-friendly. They are very pigmented, and the way you get them out is they're just a little squeeze tube, and you kind of have to be like, they come out very fast, and you have to be very careful when you squeeze these because a little goes a long way. And there have been so many times where I've just not been paying attention and I've just like squeezed and a ton has come out, and then I've just wasted a ton of product. So that's just the only thing I wish was different about these. And again, it's not that they're not user-friendly. I just find myself being more cautious when I use them. But all in all, formula-wise, 4.5, solid, beautiful blushes. They're very just like dewy and fresh looking on the skin. This next formula I feel like is very well loved and iconic in the cream blush community, and it is the Rare Beauty cream blushes. I have 3. I have always loved this particular shade called Bliss, and I think it's the matte version. And then the other 2 that I have are more of like the dewy, because she's got like a dewy formula and then a matte in these blushes. I use these in a very similar way that I did the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer blushes. These are this is a great cream blush formula. However, you have to be so careful when you apply these, especially this color right here. It's called Grace. It's kind of more of like a hot pink. I mean, I'm talking like the tiniest little tap on the back of the hand will cover your entire face. And so you have to be extremely careful when you're using these. Kind of just like scrape off the excess and use whatever's left on the doe foot applicator. For me, I can't just apply these directly to the face. They will kind of disturb the base underneath, so I always make sure to apply on the back of my hand. I'm gonna give these a 4 star, really just knocking down the like user friendliness. Okay, and I know we love pigmented stuff, and I know if something is not pigmented, it absolutely gets slammed, but I talk about this a lot. I think the word pigment and like extra pigmented really got overused in the like mid 2000s, beauty influencer era, where we were experiencing like coming from like super cheap eyeshadow palettes from the 90s and early millennium. Like, eyeshadow formulas just weren't where they are today. And so when brands started seeing that type of feedback, it just like, it turned into like, how pigmented can we get these makeup products? So I think pigmented products really went a little overboard in the last like 10 years. And so this is a preference thing. I just like to see something in between. I don't want it to be, you know, terrible, crappy payoff, but I also don't necessarily want it to be, you know, overly saturated with pigment where I have to be extremely careful. I like a really nice middle ground. But all in all, I do enjoy using these. I just have to be careful. And they always look stunning on. So I'm going to give them a solid 4. So next up, this is actually what I'm currently wearing on my cheeks right now. These are a very well-loved blush formula in my collection, and they are the Persona Dreamstick blushes. I'm wearing one of the limited colors. I think they did with another influencer. It's called Bloom, and it's this gorgeous kind of, you know, peachy pink. But my favorite shade is Teddy. Teddy is like one of my all-time favorites. Like neutral, like nude brown blushes. So these are stick cream blushes you just twist up, and they are not only extremely user friendly, but they have what I was just talking about, that perfect middle ground pigment. They are not sheer and, you know, hard to apply and you don't get any payoff, but they're also not as overly pigmented as, for example, the Rare Beauty. They just have that really great middle ground to them, and I love it because I can just throw them on and they're so easy. No matter how I'm wearing my makeup, no matter what type of look I'm doing, they just always look so stunning. So these are definitely high up on my ranking. I'm gonna give Dreamstick blushes 4.5 star. I would personally like to see, so most of these are, or if not all, they're all matte. Like they don't have any type of sheen or luminosity or any type of like shimmer. Not necessarily that I want to see glitter in a formula, but I would like to see some versatility in upcoming colors, something that just has a little bit of a glow to it. I think that would be so stunning. But I will say the reason these do look so smooth is because they do have that smooth, like velvety, like matte texture, but in a really lively cream blush formula. These are very solid, and I also love the Dreamstick bronzers too. Just side note, if you've never tried the bronzers, one of my favorites, so creamy and blendable, pigmented, easy to use, but not overly pigmented. So yeah, 4.5 for my Dreamstick blushes. So these are Saie Beauty Glow Sculpt blushes. I really have enjoyed these. These are a newer blush launch. They just came out like maybe 3 months ago. And honestly, I have to say I was thoroughly enjoying these for the summertime. As we are going into the wintertime, I don't see myself reaching for these as much because they are very intensely packed with, it's almost like a highlighter and a blush in one. And you can see when I open this, you can see how kind of slightly shimmery they are. Love the formula though. They apply stunningly and they look so gorgeous in the summertime, but they do have that like high intensity reflection. And so it's not always something that I'm going to reach for like my daily makeup look. I don't always want that extreme high shine happening. And thinking about what consumers are going to reach for, I don't see every single person reaching for these for also that same reason. Maybe if you have mature skin, that type of high intensity highlight can often enhance wrinkles. It can often enhance texture. And so, you know, I'm trying to think in the broader spectrum of different skin types. I mean, gorgeous, absolutely stunning colors. This one is Quartz Glow. Mauve Glow is one that I use a lot. This one is Pink Glow. They look gorgeous. And so I'm not going to fault them like for that. This is just the style of blush that Saie Beauty was going for. So I struggle. Like I'm going to say in the summertime, they're a 4. And for like the wintertime, like 3.5. Because I know I'm not going to reach for these as much in the wintertime because I like just more of like a softer, I don't know, I just go for that softer, more natural appearance in the wintertime, I guess. About like high intensity shine on my really like fair skin, it doesn't serve for me. So this is a 4 in the summer and a 3.5 in the winter. It's a seasonal preference, but I do love this formula. I like I said, I've used them so much ever since they launched. And they're gorgeous, but they are for a specific, have I been like, why have I been holding my head like that? They're for a specific crew. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about Saie Beauty's other blush formula. These are called the Dew Blush. And I have to say, I find a lot of similarities in this formula and the Rare Beauty. However, I think these are slightly less pigmented than the Rare Beauty, which makes me reach for them a little bit more because they are, in my opinion, a little bit more user-friendly. However, they are glowy, dewy, whereas with the Rare Beauty, you can also get that formula in more of like a flatter, smoother, matte finish. So these are called Dew Blush for a reason. They just kind of have a little bit of that, you know, natural glow, like similar to what I'm wearing on my cheeks right now. Also the colors, this peachy color from Saie looks just like my Rare Beauty Bliss. But I like these. I'm a fan of these. I really don't have any complaints. I feel like they apply pretty well with most bases. I would maybe caution going into like really full coverage foundations because they do have that a little bit more of that wetter texture. They're called Dew Blush, so they do serve a little bit more, in my opinion, like they're just like slightly wetter on the skin. So they don't really disrupt, but I do have to be a little bit more careful if I'm wearing higher coverage products. But all in all, I'm going to give these a solid 4.5. I mean, like I said, I have no complaints. I only have 2 colors, but I really like the 2 colors that I have. So we're going to go with 4.5 for Dew Blush. I like these. Okay, I only have 1 of these blushes and they are so beloved. Like I've seen so many people just talk about how they love this formula and it's their favorite. And I have to admit, it's really not my favorite. It's the NARS Afterglow liquid blushes. So think of the Saie Beauty that I just talked about, but even more sheer. They're not so sheer that they apply like, you know, those tinted balms, but it's definitely a step down. So in comparison with some of the previous ones I've talked about, Rare Beauty, most pigmented, Saie Beauty Dew Blush, somewhere in between, and then in my opinion, this NARS Afterglow liquid blush would be the least, but they all have this very similar ultra liquidy formula. The Dew Blush is like borderline water. Like I could tip this out and it's going to come out extremely liquidy, whereas the Rare Beauty and the Dew Blushes, they're thicker. So just to give you an idea, I don't know. I got this and used it. I even took it to the beach and just nothing really blew me away. I have this shade called Behave, and I think I actually got another color. I think I got Orgasm and it's at my house. But there's just nothing that really stood out to me and made me go wow with this formula. Again, look, I blend it out and it kind of just like disappears. So like I said, pretty sheer. And with this ultra liquidy formula, I have to be careful with what I'm putting underneath because the more water content, the more it's going to disrupt what you have underneath. So I'm really just honestly out of preference going to give this like a 2. I don't reach for it. It's pretty pricey. NARS is pretty pricey and we know I love NARS. Like NARS has always been a favorite brand of mine, but for some reason these just did not speak to me. So yeah, I think I'm just going to give it a 2, like slightly below average. Let's talk about e.l.f. Luminous Putty Blushes. I am just gonna be honest, I don't like these. Will they work like out of pure, like if it's the only thing you can find? Sure, it's gonna look okay, but I just simply don't like the formula of these. So they have a very similar formula to the original Putty blushes, which, you know, kind of have that tacky, satiny texture to them. But it's honestly just like they threw glitter in that same formula and tried to call it luminous, when I don't really feel like it makes your face look that luminous. It makes your face look like chunky, glittery. And I just don't like the formula. I don't know what it is, and it's making me mad just looking at it. I have this color, I don't even know what this color is called. It's something tropical, I think. But like this doesn't even show up on my face. And then there's a bunch of golden glitter flecks. Yeah, I don't like these. I've used them in a few videos, but they just aren't anything that I personally ever reach for. Not really anything I would ever recommend. I mean, this is bad, but this is probably my first 1-star product. I just simply do not like these. I don't like how they look. I don't like how they apply. And I would much rather just go for the original putty blush version because at least you don't have the chunks of glitter just like hanging out on your face. We have the Charlotte blush in Glow Light wands. Okay, so I have one of the matte ones, and then I have two, I used to have all of these, the Beauty Light wands, and I have to rate both of these differently because I like one more than the other. I like the Glowgasm Light wands. These are a 5 for me, baby. Like they always have been, always will. They are stunning. I commend Charlotte on the formulation of these because they're just gorgeous. Like, I don't care what your beef is with the packaging. Like, I get it. The packaging is not ideal. And I don't care what your beef is in terms of, like, when you buy them, they feel like they're empty because they're not. And they last me a really long time. So I'm going to ride or die defend these. I have always loved the Glowgasm Light wands. They look stunning. You cannot tell me that these do not look absolutely gorgeous on the cheeks. So these are a 5 for me. Like, just expensive, rich, healthy, glowy, model looking skin. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, those are a 5 for me. It's a done deal, no argument. So the matte beauty blush wand, not as much love for this. I don't think the formula is as unique. I have the Pillow Talk color. It's pretty and it applies really nicely. Like, again, no complaints, but it's not as special to me as the Beauty Light wands. I think those like reflective, really gorgeous colors, like the colors that's what I love about the Beauty Light wands. This to me, I feel like I could find in most makeup brands. You know what I'm saying? Like the color to me isn't really that special. And then just a matte liquid blush. You know, it's similar. It's giving the NARS vibes to me. However, I do think that this applies more evenly than the NARS. It's more pigmented. So I'm going to give the matte like somewhere in between. I'm going to give this like a 3-star. I just feel like you can get a lot of really similar products and probably similar colors for a little bit of a cheaper price point. So we're going to give her a 3-star simply because I don't hate it, but also I don't love it as much as the Beauty Light wand formula. Okay, sorry to jump scare like this, totally different day, but as I was editing this video, I realized we were already at the 30-minute mark and I still had so many more blushes that I had not rated yet. So I think I'm going to do a part 2. I'll probably just upload the part 2 a day or 2 after this video goes up. And yeah, I can't, 30 minutes is like my cutoff, guys. I can't do anything longer than that. So look forward to a part 2. I hope you enjoyed seeing everything so far. But there will be a part 2 coming up in just a day or 2 after this one. So keep an eye out.